Thank you guys for tuning in to another segment of the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics. We are live from sunny Melbourne Beach, Florida, at the First Star Logistics Beach House. Danny, we got to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Damn right.
You know, at the beginning of the season, I said I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be the juggernaut that we've been grown accustomed to, essentially, and they haven't been that. Right? They opened up the season with a loss to the Detroit Lions. That's respectable, right? But they've had some sort of Hail Mary prayer type performances. You think about the game against the Jets, right? Even think about the debacle they had against the Denver Broncos, and they were able to, unfortunately, break that streak of winning games against the Denver Broncos. Then you look ahead to what Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers
Yeah.
did to the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, I've always said this. I always felt like Steve Spagnuolo was an overrated defensive coordinator, right? And I say that because I think that it was some of the players that he had on his team, right? Like when he had a Tyrann Matthew. I know he still has Chris Jones, but they masked a lot of his flaws, right?
Yeah.
Masked a lot of his flaws. I mean, it was playing your best three tech at edge rusher, things like that, right? That started to rear its ugly head at certain points. But when I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, their offense just lacks that huge home run threat that we've
Yep.
grown accustomed to. Now I can't blame Patrick Mahomes necessarily on that, but I do blame Andy Reid. I've got to look at the weapons that he's throwing to people like Valdez Scantling. I
Yep.
always butcher his name. They brought back McCole Hardman. Kadarius Toney has proven to not be that guy that they've expected him to
Yep.
be. Travis Kelsey, he's getting older. He's
Yep.
getting older. He can't
You can
carry.
tell.
Yeah, exactly. So when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, you look at Patrick Mahomes able to have to do more this year, getting his legs involved to try to offset the lack of explosive plays that the Kansas City Chiefs can muster up. So, what are your thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs? I don't think that they are true Super Bowl contenders this year. I think that they're
Yep.
a, a respectable team, but I think that when you go up against some of these upper echelon teams, they're going to struggle.
And Chiefs fans aren't probably gonna like when they see this video because I think they're overrated. I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders. And you can obviously point to respectfully, Patrick Mahomes is a superstar quarterback. He is a top three quarterback. But I watched him on Sunday night too. The man was struggling, right?
Hmm.
The man was struggling. And for me, it's the simple things, it's the easy things. This offense doesn't have an easy button. They don't, right? They're
Hmm.
trying to force him, like you said, Valdez Scantling. And Chiefs fans are going to say, well, we could have won that game if we got a flag. Yeah, a flag here and there is obviously for every single team. Both can be true at the same time. But the Kansas City Chiefs, when you point to their offense gives me no real confidence that they will be able to do it for 4 straight games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
No real confidence.
Hmm.
Like they're 2-3 in their past 5 games.
Mm.
2-3, and one of those losses was to the Denver Broncos. The other was to the Green Bay Packers. Neither of which are juggernauts on offense or juggernauts on defense. So when I look at this team, what's gonna give me hope or Chiefs fans hope in the
Hmm.
playoffs? I mean, you got Patrick Mahomes, but the rest of the offense, I mean, it's not consistent. And it's crazy to say because you have Andy Reid on your
Hmm.
team, but the offense just isn't consistent. They're trying all these different formations. And like you said, it goes down to they don't have an easy button. In my opinion, the fix, stick with Isaiah Pacheco, the running
Yes.
game. It
Yes.
works. And I love get Patrick Mahomes out of the pocket because he's been using his legs a lot the
Yeah.
past 8 games. He's had over 20 rushing yards in most of those games. So use Patrick Mahomes outside of the pocket and run the ball with Isaiah Pacheco. Then they've got a real chance.
One of my favorite sayings is you can only control what's in front of you, right?
Yeah.
And for me, the Kansas City Chiefs are the beneficiaries of that. You
Okay.
think about who they have next on their schedule. They have the Buffalo Bills. That's a game they can lose.
Yep.
That's a game that they can lose. And matter of fact, I guess I'm picking the Buffalo Bills. I think the Buffalo Bills can win that game. I really do. But then after that, they take on the New England Patriots, who failed to score a single
They're
point
terrible.
against a terrible Chargers defense.
Yep.
They then take on the Raiders, whose number they've had right for
Yeah.
quite some time. The Raiders looked good against them to start the game a couple weeks back, and then they just faltered after that. But then they take on the Bengals and Jake Browning, right? Right, no Joe Burrow. You take on Jake Browning, but who knows? Maybe Jake Browning is able to pull something out of his hat. But then you take on the Chargers. To me, that's a favorable schedule down
Definitely.
the stretch for the Kansas City Chiefs. So maybe everything that I'm saying, Kansas City Chiefs will look at me and say, you know what, that guy is probably yelling into an abyss and a void. It doesn't matter what he's saying.
But you're not wrong because this is, and I think this is a perfect thing that we're making this video because we're going to be able to look at this. And in my opinion, this is going to be fool's gold. We're going to see them potentially. They could have the number 1 seed, but I've got no real confidence that I'm going to be able to say, all right, they've got the number 1 seed. Sure, they've got to
Hmm.
buy. All right, can you give me 3 straight wins to win the Super Bowl?
Hmm.
I'm not confident.
So can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Here's the crazy part. I I really want to see what they look like if they aren't able to get the 1 seed. So interesting note,
Yeah,
and fact about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, for the 2 Super Bowls that he had and all the success that he's had with the Kansas City Chiefs, he has yet to play a playoff game outside of Arrowhead.
damn.
He's
I
yet to
don't
play
know
a
that.
playoff game outside of Arrowhead. All the playoff games have taken place in Arrowhead, and outside of the Cincinnati Bengals, no team has really been able to go into Arrowhead and beat the Kansas City
Yeah.
Chiefs, right? So I think if you want to have a real shot at seeing what this Kansas City Chiefs team is really made of, get them outside of Kansas City. But maybe that won't even matter this year. They've struggled
Yeah,
at home this year,
they
right?
have.
They've struggled at home this year, so maybe this won't even matter. But all I have to say is it's not a knock against Patrick Mahomes. It's not a knock against Chris Jones and some of the star players that they do have in Kansas City. I'm talking about the team in totality. Football is a team sport, right? Andy Reid, this coaching staff. I'm looking at you guys squarely. This is the talent that you put forth on the field, and you say, you know what? We have the best quarterback in the National Football League. He can make wonders happen. Doesn't matter who he's throwing to. It really does show, that they do miss a guy like Tyreek Hill, right? They do
Yeah.
miss a guy like Tyreek Hill and all the things that he brought to the team. I'll even say they miss Juju Smith-Schuster. I think that just the consistency at the wide receiver position is something that the Kansas City Chiefs are lacking. It's something that I believe is going to rear its ugly head at the most inopportune time.
And when I look at them facing the playoffs, Chiefs fans are going to say, well, who else is going to win it? The Miami Dolphins, they're very inconsistent. I'm going to say a team, and I've been saying this team, obviously, they just had an injury to their wide receiver position. So that kind of scales back a little bit. But I would love to see the Texans face the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. I would love to see the Texans. They've got this moxie about them this season to where I think CJ Stroud could give Steve Spagnuolo, like you said, some real struggle. So that's a matchup I'd love to see, even if the Texans have to go into Arrowhead. I think they've got something special this season. And hey, who's to know? Obviously, Trevor Lawrence just sprained his ankle. So we'll see. That's a matchup I would love to see, Texans versus Chiefs.
I agree. Let us know down in the comment section what you guys' thoughts are. Are the Kansas City Chiefs still Super Bowl contenders, or are we just overreacting? Right? Let us know in the comment section. If you like more video content like this, do us a huge favor. Give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live from the First Star Logistics Studio.